So what I'll do is I'll give you a little bit of a background on me and reasons why. I mean, Sue generally does this this webinar on a Thursday evening, and she asked me to do it this week, just for somebody different, I guess, just to do something different with you. And I might have a few different things. Hopefully, something of value for you. That's the most important thing to me. If I do something tonight, which you find interesting, then that'll be great. My job, I work full time. I've been involved in cleanings with Debbie now for 6 years, nearly 6 years. So it's been a while. We're gold distributors in the business. We've quite a good business actually. It's growing again. Now we're working hard to make it grow again. Now with the sponsoring and everything else we're doing. I have a full-time job and I always have worked. As Chris said, I was an engineer. I'm actually a project manager engineer. I work for a company called Seco. They are a Swedish company. It's a very good job. It's very, very involved in what I do, because generally what I do is the company sells tooling, not any kind of tooling, just the higher end of the market, like the Rolls Royces and the British Aerospaces and people like that. So we go in and we project manage major projects for them and make sure that the tooling works. And there's 4 of us in the country, in the UK, and we're part of a global network of engineers. So a lot of the things we do are very similar in sense to what we do with Clean Easy. So some of the skills that we have, or I have, with engineering and project management, which involves a lot of planning and tracking, that I can transfer them straight over into what we do with Clean Easy, and they do work. So everything I show tonight is something I put a quick presentation tonight just for this webinar together on planning and tracking, and it just came straight out of my mind. It took about half an hour. So what I've written here is what I use. It's no different to what I use. It's exactly what I do. So the webinar itself is planned for around about 30 minutes. I'm not sure, I can't see, I've got a chat bar here. I guess if somebody puts a question in or something, I'll be able to answer that question for you. So started off with hopefully, can everybody see this presentation I've got in front of me here now? Can everybody see the actual PowerPoint presentation? If somebody can just tell me they can see it, then I can continue. I won't want to carry on and people can't see what I'm talking about. So you should have on the screen in front of you there a presentation which has planning and tracking as a title. It's got my name and today's date. Okay, I'll make an assumption that everybody can see that. No, Janet's arrived. So okay, so I'll carry on, and the next slide is where we get down to it. So one of the things that's very, very important, we're all busy people. I'm an extremely busy person in what I do. I mean, my days are long in terms of the things that I do because of work and Clean Easy, and obviously the things that happen in our lives. So the trick is finding a work balance. That's a life and work balance. It's really very difficult at times to do that when you're so busy. But you've got to find a balance between whatever your commitments are to work, to your family, Clean Easy time as well, business time. You've got to give time to your business to be able to grow it and develop it. And what people don't sometimes tell you, you do need actually to rest. You need recreation to recharge your batteries, because sometimes you just get so full on and you need time out. And I actually spoke to Rob Forster about that, because it was about a year ago, because you seem to be working 7 days a week with stuff, and he just said take Sundays off. Now he doesn't say that to a lot of people. He said you work that much, you travel that much with your job, and you do a lot of work during the week for the Clean Easy and whatever else. Just give yourself a few hours off, give yourself half a day off or something like that, and it never really works like that. But we do try to have some time off and get away from everything in terms of work and even business. So I think it's important to recharge your batteries. It's not something people tell you. The next slide is why would we plan? Well, planning is, it gives you structure. It gives you structure to what you're going to try and do and what you're trying to achieve. It's all about having plans, but you need to structure those plans. So structure is important. It also manages your time. Time management is extremely important in what I do in terms of job. I work to what we call time plans. We're on targets to hit particular gates, or whatever you call them, or milestones within projects, and we have to be very, very organised in terms of time. I can be running at any one time between 6 or 8 projects, and they're usually bigger ones as well. So I've got to be on the ball and know what's going on in every single project. I'm going to tell you a few little tips later on in the presentation how I do manage that the best. And it's a little tip. I learned it through Cleansy actually, and it is a fantastic little tip. It does actually help you organise and plan yourself, plan your time, which is fantastic. It does actually, planning specifies, or it creates specific targets, if you like. It's self-made targets, not targets that somebody else achieves. And it also can see how you achieve those results. Again, I've mentioned it can ensure, if you get your planning right, it's not easy, but you get your planning right, it can ensure that you have a reasonable work and life balance. And it does, as I said, it does assist you in realising what goals you have. Okay, so if you have goals, and you should have goals, and you should know where you're going, then it gives you something to work towards. Okay, so it does help you in that respect. So planning is important. Just a quick talk about your reason why. You got involved in this business for a reason. Sometimes you forget why you got involved in this business because you get so wrapped up in stuff. It's always good to understand why, or go back to why you got involved. What your reason why. It might have been the children, it might have been to get out of the job you're in, just to get some extra money coming in to pay whatever it is you have to pay, to reduce your debt, whatever it might be. You're going to have a reason why. So sometimes when things are not going so well, and I'm going to touch on that later on as well, which happens, then it's always good to go back to the reasons why you got involved. And goals, your goals are important. People talk about goals, but a lot of companies, and certainly the company that I work with, and the levels of jobs that we do, they actually are very big on goal setting themselves. A lot of the people I've noticed in the last 5 or 6 or maybe a bit longer years, they've actually got very, very big on goal setting and personal development within companies, and very specific goals. I know that my job now, I have certain payments made to me which are based upon my achieving my goals. If I don't achieve them, then I don't get paid some of the bonuses that I get paid. And told me I want them bonuses because they're good bonuses. So I have to work very hard to plan very hard to make sure that we have those goals and we have plans to achieve those goals. Okay, and we do very well at the moment. Okay. So in terms of the goals, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you if you haven't got goals is to establish what those goals are now, straight away. If you don't do anything else off this call tonight or this webinar tonight, do that. That would be to establish short, medium and long-term goals. And I've specified them as a short goal would be around about a year, next week, what you're going to be by the end of 2012, probably going into 2013. And it's something I did a long time before I came into Cleansy. I used to always set not goals as you would know them now, but certainly goals. And a medium-term goal would be 2 to 3 years, where you want to be in 2 to 3 years' time. It's not a long time, it passes. If you think about it, if you have children, like we have children, you'll probably understand that they grow quickly. And if you look back 2 years, it doesn't seem like 2 minutes ago sometimes in your life. And certainly 5 to 10 year goals. I've just got 51 years of age. I remember being 40. It's terrible how fast time goes. So it seems to accelerate when you get older, and so we get more busier. So yeah, these times will pass anyway. So it's best to have some point where a reference point you want to be at in the future, and that's what the goals are all about. Okay, so they're not daft and mumbo jumbo, they do actually work. And if you do set goals, you'll be one of the probably the 5% of the people in the population that do. And as I've mentioned to you, big companies with people working in key positions do actually specify you have to have goals. Okay, goals need a plan. The thing is about goals, you never achieve them if you don't know how to get there to them. You can also have the hairy-fairy goal, I want a Rolls Royce, or I want a 10-bedroom house or whatever, and probably they are there to have, but you've got to work very hard to get there, and there's got to be a plan of action to get from where you are to where you want to be. And if you remember that phrase, a plan of action, that is action being the operative word there. You have to act upon whatever your goals are or whatever your plan is. So you've got to decide upon your short, medium and long-term goals. And a bit of advice would be to, once you've set your goal, whatever that might be, is then work backwards from that goal and create a plan so that it will materialize or bring that goal through. Okay, and you can create milestones along the way within your plan that will keep you on track. So you get reference points, if you want to call them that, and these might be, we use them all the time in my job, my day job, and that might be something where you have to be at a certain point in time achieve a certain amount of work along the project to be able to get paid. And a lot of companies now, they have penalty clauses, and if you haven't reached a certain point within a certain time, then you can get penalised financially. Your company does, and my boss wouldn't be very happy if that happens. So we've got to make sure that we achieve certain targets at certain times along the way to create or to achieve the overall plan. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I've given a lot of reasons here why planning is important. So we're going to look at planning in itself. And one of the advice is you can get very, I mean, I do some very complex plans. I see some people sometimes make massively complex plans on spreadsheets and whatever else, but keep it simple. It's a simple business. There's no reason to be, in Clean Easy certainly, to be making complex plans. Absolutely no reason whatsoever. So your plan should be very simple, quick to make, and easy to review. Okay, so quick, simple, and easy. That's the key. Okay, and if you can plan for the week ahead. Now we actually plan for the week ahead on a Sunday. Okay, so that's when I do. So I plan the week in front because sometimes it can be in different places in the country, in the UK. And I make a big point, if I can, of trying to fit in Clean Easy meetings. There's the clue. I try to make as much as I can, trying to make as many Clean Easy meetings as I can. Certainly the op meetings and whatever. So I think they're important to attend for the information and also for being around the people in the business. So I think it's important to be at these events. So I put them in a plan. And again, there's no need for fancy plans and computerized plans. You're just wasting your time. I want to say you're just wasting your time. You need to be making a quick plan on a Sunday night, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, done. That's it. Okay, you don't need to plan to the finest detail because plans don't always work out. Not where we think, you know, and you've got to be able to be proactive in terms of making the plan, but reactive in terms of amending it as you're going along. So it's pointless spending hours and hours and hours making a very detailed plan for it to go wrong on the first day. So just make a sort of a plan, and then something you can amend as you go. And certainly in Clean Easy, you don't need to make complex plans. Okay, so don't spend time actually making a plan rather than actually doing something. Okay, so be very clear time. It goes back to time management again, doesn't it? Okay. Maybe as soon as before. Okay, it's important to understand this. Is planning is only part of the cycle of achievement, I would call it. So plan is the first stage, do is the action stage, and review is where you look at where you've been or even track what you've done. And that feeds itself, does that. It's like an iterative cycle. That means it just goes round and round and round. So you plan something, that whenever you plan to reach a goal or a milestone within the overall plan, you take action to realise that particular part of the plan, and then you review the plan at the end, and from that review it will inform you what needs to be done to get the next set of action, which then you can go around and make a plan and replan. Okay, so plan, do, review. It's very simple, but we use that all the time within what we do. Okay, in work and also in Clean Easy. So plan, take the action, because without the action, nothing happens. So you can see if you wait it, so you're putting too much time into planning and reviewing, which are obviously activities away from doing, then nothing ever gets done. So the actual doing bit is the biggest bit. Okay, you may also have heard of this, smart planning. SMART stands for, S stands for smart, or specific, sorry, I should have been specific. I said I was making this pretty quick tonight, and I'm just throwing things down. So actually S stands for specific. It must, whatever you plan has to be specific. It has to be, let's say you want to get out 200 books or 400 books this week. That's a specific plan. 400 books are going out, and you have a plan to achieve that. Okay, you're going to put 200 by 200 out, you're going to put 100 4 times, or whatever you're going to do. And you're going to build in, going for your stragglers time. So you're allotting time to each part of that doing whatever you're going to do, putting 400 books out. So be specific about what exactly you're going to do within your week, or within your, whatever it's going to be, the time period it is. The time is, we're going to come back to this in a little bit, but it's going to be measurable. Not so much in Clean Easy, but you've got to be able to measure what you plan, what you're doing. Okay, this may be a bit more towards what I do in the main job. Certainly, it's got to be achievable. You can't do something. I mean, I couldn't say I'll put 1,000 books out this week and I'll do my job as well. It's just not achievable. It can't be done. And again, the next word is realistic. It's just not realistic to do that. So it's got to be something you can achieve realistically. Okay, and it's got to be time focused. Okay, now if we're looking for maybe a larger goal than putting books out, it might be something like getting to Gold Distributor. So how would that work in getting to Gold Distributor? Well, it's got to be smart. It's got to be specific. I want to be a Gold Distributor. Which, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that. I want to be a Gold Distributor. Okay, so how are you going to do that? You're going to have a plan. It's got to be, well, you all know there's bonus levels to achieving Gold Distributor level. And you've got to work your way through those. And if you do grow your business with the help of your upline, then you've got a specific plan. And you might well involve the upline in this plan. You can measure what stage you're at as you go along. It's achievable. Well, yeah, anybody can do it. Okay, with the right amount of effort and time and commitment and perseverance. And realistic, yeah, it's realistic. Anybody can do it. It's been done many, many times. Lots and lots of people. I mean, Rob Forster has something like over 100 Gold Distributors active in his team, so it's more than achievable, realistic and time. And it's time focused. That's probably the most difficult part, particularly if you want to make one of these trips on holidays and what have you. That time focus is important. It's like, well, you only have a certain time period to qualify, say, for a big holiday, or that might not be a big reason why, but that might be something you want on as an aside. And the time focus is important to focus it. You plan on that particular time. So if you have to qualify, let's say for period 9 for going to Miami, then you have to have put you've got to have achieved. I think it's 4 of the levels at Gold Distributorship, so you'd have to have that in the plan. So you'd be under pressure in terms of time to achieve it. So this is a very, very good, smart way of working. And the big killer is procrastination. You may well have come across that word before. What it means is, really, I'll put it off. I won't do it now, I'll do it tomorrow. Or I'll just do this first. Or the dog needs walking. Or look what's on TV, there's a football match on tonight, or a rugby match, or whatever. You can't have everything. You can't have watching television or doing things instead of or replacing them. And this is a big killer in terms of follow-up calls or talking to people. I'll do it tomorrow. That's always a favourite one. I'll put it on. It'll be there tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. But that is going to put you behind on your plan. Okay, so procrastination is something you've got to really, really address. We're going to give you a couple of tips there. So I've got a tip here for you, which is what I use. Some of you may have heard this before. I think this is brilliant. Within your plan time to make a plan. In other words, give yourself a time during the week when you can actually have time to plan and review. Okay, review the previous week and see if you're on track. And then obviously have time to look forward to next week and plan what you're going to do next week. You should have a plan. If we're looking at a more longer term thing, like 3 months or 6 months or whatever, you see if you're on track overall for what you're trying to achieve. But small steps a week in front of you, or this period. Clean Easy is ideally it works in 4 week periods. So what's your target this period? Your own target. Is it get to 21%? Is it get to 18%? Is it to hit gold? You've got to have a target for the period, but each week is a constituent part of that period, and you've got to make sure you're on plan and track that plan. So make time within your week, within your whole plan, to actually get, and people don't, they actually sort of think, well, they go along and they say, I'll do it next week. And again, it goes back to procrastination. You've got to make time, like we do at Sunday, is just give yourself time to write a few things down and make sure you're on plan. Okay. And when you actually list everything that you have to do with your week, So when you're planning forward, think about what you have commitments in your personal life, what work commitments you might have, or family commitments, children, take them to football or cricket or whatever you have to do, or dancing. Clean easy. You've got to make time for clean easy. It won't work if you don't make time for it. And one people leave out is personal development. As I'm a strong believer in, this is the actual engine of your business. You learn a lot. The more you learn about the business, the better value you'll be to the people who join your team. That's a big point, actually. The more you understand about the business, the better or more value you can offer to people in your team. And when you're talking to them on the phone, when they have a problem, when your new starts a problem with picking up books or what have you, they don't get good orders, you can deal with that problem because you're able to deal with that problem because you've got the experience and you've developed yourself. So personal development in terms of reading books and whatever else is really very, very important, and is one that gets left to one side. Okay. Now, one of the things that what I do is at the end of the week, I generally on the Sunday make a large have a book, and in the book I just write down everything that I have to do. So I know what I've got to do in my personal life, I know what I've got to do in my work life, I know what I've got to do in the clean easy time and everything else. So I know what's what. I keep now having listed all of that lot. The next day for Monday, never go to bed without making a plan for the next day. So they actually have the next day's plan already organised. So Mondays is organised, and all I do is write down the top 5 things, top 5 or 6 things that I need doing, okay, and just work down the list. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and get the first one done, box that off, move to the second one, and so on and so forth down. And I find that is the next day, the Tuesday, little 10 minutes or 5 minutes in the evening, make a plan for the next day, whatever that might have to be, and then write down the next 5 things or whatever. I think I have a little book somewhere around here with a little book of carrying pockets, and just write down the 5 things I want to do the next day. And by the end of the week, you've probably done a lot of the stuff that you would organise to do, a lot of the stuff that you have to do in every area. Okay, so you can write down 5 or 6 things. Don't write any more than that. And if sometimes you don't get through the first one in a day, it takes you all day to the first one, doesn't matter. Box that one off just before you move to the next one. And sometimes that can be don't bother about the rest, just get that first one done. Of course, if you've got to pay a bill or something like that, make sure that happens, because you're not paying your bills. So that's a little tip. So make a big full page of all the things you have to do in those different categories, and then pick out each day the top 5 or 6 that you want to address and see them through. And if they don't get seen through, carry them off to the next day. Okay. So a really, really good tip is that. Again, it's one of the things we use for time management. So this is an example of a weekly plan. They're very simple. Again, keeping things simple. This goes on our fridge. This is one I just pulled off, not filled in one, an incompleted one off some files that I had, and it's just really straightforward, simple. Every day, I think it's Monday to Sunday, and you've got the times down the left-hand side for the hours, and all you do is just put in what I'd advise you to do is to put in your work commitments if you have a job. If not, if you prefer cleaning your stuff, and what you should do is put in what commitments you have for work, what your family commitments. You might have an appointment to the dentist, or you might have to take the children to whatever, school or back or whatever it might be. Put those times in as well. So once you've got all that time in, so you've got your commitments covered, you know that, then you can spot where the times are and you can do your cleaning easy. Put your books out, talk to people on the phone if you're doing follow-ups, if you're doing team building, go to meetings, put in your thing about maybe having a 20-minute read or a 10-minute read of a book, of a good book. There's plenty of, I'm not going to go into the books now, but obviously the books and the CDs, listen to them. If you're traveling in your car, listen to the CDs, and you can put all this other information and populate your planner for the week. And then just once you've done it, you can just print off a blank one and just fill it in by hand, and then pop it on the fridge with a fridge magnet. Done. Then your plan's there for the week. Okay, and you can clearly see it gives you a visual straight away of where you're up to, and it lets Debbie know or your partner know exactly what you're up to. Okay, and if you're a couple work in the business, and you have a couple, you can make a planner each, or you can put all your information on one plan. either way, whatever way you find best, but that is a good tip to complete one of those in every week. And I know sometimes, you know, if you go to one of your upline and they say to you, oh, my business is not, you said my business is not quite working, it's not quite going fast enough, the first thing they'll ask for is your plan. They'll ask for your plan and your tracker and what have you done. Okay, and we'll show you that in a minute. Okay. So tracking your plan. So why would you track? Why would you track your plan? Well, it records the performance of your plan. That's the most important thing. If you've made a plan, the tracker will actually give you a performance, it'll give you an indicator of how your plan is working. It'll also inform you of what works and what doesn't work. And in the early days, that's something that, well, of course, you're working with your upline, but you may be uncertain about the business, and that's what you might need to do as well. You need to be able to find out what works for you and what does not work for you. And over a period of time, you can eliminate the things that don't work and just fill it full of things that do. It provides you with information for your weekly review. So when you come to this Sunday evening or whatever time it is you do it, you might do a review on, firstly thing I would recommend, go back over your week, look at your tracker, do your review, see what you've achieved, how much maybe retail you've done, how many people you've sponsored, that sort of thing, or how many leads you might have generated, or whatever it might be. So that tracker is feeding you that information. It's giving you direct feedback on what you've achieved and what you've actually done, okay, against your plan, okay? And then you move forward into making your plan for the next week, okay? It provides you, it keeps you aligned with your future goals. Okay, so your tracking is keeping you on track for what you want to achieve. Okay, so it's very important to track. And this is an example of a tracker, very, very similar to the planner. The tracker is, again, just for a week. I mean, this is something that I think John Halsall brought out a few years ago. I don't think some of the headings are probably relevant sometimes, but just as an example, again, you list the days down the left-hand side this time, and how many. I mean, this is really for both lead generation and for the retail. So you can see how much retail you've done, how many books you've got out, stuff like that, and how many orders you got and everything else. But whatever which way you can design your own tracker, it should be this simple. But if you design your own tracker, that is something which will be personal to you. And you can, if it's just retail, you can just have the retail as an example. If you start putting some flyers out, or you're doing some shop cards or whatever else you're doing, then you can populate the other and just see what you've done. Again, it gives you feedback. It informs you of what you've actually done against your plan. Okay, so you can plan this stuff in and then track it and see how it went. You might want to put in there about personal development and reading a book or two, how far you've got. Little tip, read 10 pages a day of a good book. And by the end of the period, you'll have read the book. By the end of the year, you'll have read 12, 13 books. You'll know a lot more about the business. And invariably, when things do go wrong, as they will, and they do, frequently, with my job, you've got to accept that you're a human. You're not special. Nobody's perfect, and nobody in this team is. I'm certainly not. Sometimes you make mistakes with your business, sometimes you make mistakes with your planning. The only thing you can do is work together as a team. So whoever your upline is, that is the person to work with, or the people to work with. And I've found that over the years, working with your upline is much better than not working with your upline. And life sometimes gets in the way, things happen, there's nothing much you can do about it. You've got to sort of get on with it. Sometimes big things happen. And you've got to deal with them, and sometimes that takes you away from what you plan, sometimes that takes you away from your of what you're trying to achieve, what you've got planned that week, and you've really got to just deal with it because that becomes more important. But again, your upline is the one to help you along with that, and most people I know, certainly in our team, Sue's team, will fully understand when things are not going well. Not so much with the business, but obviously with their life, and things happen. They'll certainly not try to push people. They'll just try to get you through it best you can. Okay, but you've got to do what needs to be done, and then obviously the next thing to do is to replan and get back on track. So amend your plan. If something little happens and you lose a day for whatever reason, then just forget it. Just replan, mend your plan and get back on track. Do it all the time because of work. Sometimes these things don't happen, and I've got to just put them on to the next day. But again, as I said there, use your upline, because your upline will be is a big asset to you, and it's, you look for your successful upline and work with those people. Okay, so I think that's it from me. Around about half an hour, as promised.